Yo, what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy RotoBeast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy, aka DFS Dudes, and we're here to present you our NFL Week 2 player pool build. This is the first time that we're doing this video. We're going to show you guys exactly how we narrow down the field of players every single week to kind of get us going. We also use this player pool to run 150 lineups and max out one of the tournaments. That's just kind of how we do it on NFL. So how you doing out there, Jeremy?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Man, I'm ready to do this. Real quick, though, if you guys haven't, please make sure and check out our website at www.dfscheatsheet.com. We have all the tools, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, everything that you need to help compete with the pros day in and day out. So check it out, www.dfscheatsheet.com. So, Jeremy, I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty excited to show our members, how we do this every single week and how we build our GPP and cash game lines. So yeah, I mean, what do you want to do to get started in this video?
So the cool thing is we're gonna condense this down and not make this a 5-hour video, because that's really what it is when we do it together. We actually get together and break this thing down. It's a pretty long process. The cool thing is we're gonna boil it down, and at the end of the video, our members will have a solid pool to select players from. And players that we're not just going to throw a name out there. We'll give you reasons why we're going to pick these guys. Try and give you between 5 and 6 players per position, kind of the top guys we're looking at, and narrow this entire field down. And the starting point for us any given week is to take a look at the implied totals and the over-unders. Top 5 over-unders of the week is Kansas City at Pittsburgh. 53.5 points is the over-under there. Cleveland at New Orleans, 49.5. Detroit at San Francisco, 48. Indy and Washington, that's 47.5. And then Oakland at Denver coming in at 46 with the over-under. It's not enough to just look at over-unders and then target players from those games, because the over-under, the implied totals could be tilted one way or the other. For instance, New Orleans is their actual implied total is 29.8. So 49.5 is the over-under. New Orleans is taking up 28 points, 29 points basically of that. So, you're projecting a 29-20 game, obviously more opportunity for New Orleans. But from a game flow side of it, there's opportunity in a game that has a high over-under with a big spread. Guys on the other side of it, the underdog team, in this case Cleveland, they have an opportunity to throw the ball a lot, and it kind of you can start narrowing down your pool. You're not going to necessarily want to attack a running back on Cleveland side, but a quarterback, right, and Tyrod Taylor or Josh Gordon or Jarvis Landry, who are going to, Cleveland's going to have to throw the ball because they're going to be coming from behind, according to what the information is we have now. So we kind of want to just go game by game, kind of break these things down. I think you've got in front of you right now the top 8 implied totals, if you want to go over that real quick, and then we can get into this game by game breakdown.
Yeah, definitely. So, like I said, we always want to target teams who have, high implied totals. So this week, I'm going to quickly just go through them for you. The team projected with the highest implied total on the slate is going to be New Orleans. They're projected at a 29.8 projected points to be scored. They're definitely going to be the top offense to target this week. Then we can look at the Rams. They're just under the Saints with a 29.3 implied total. Then we got the Steelers at a 29 implied total. So those are our top 3. And then as we move into the second tier, we're going to look at the 49ers. They have the 4th highest implied total, 27 projected points to be scored. You got the Redskins at a 26.5 projected points to be scored. Denver, they're projected to be score 26 points this week. You got Atlanta at 25.3. And lastly, to round it out, we got the San Diego Chargers. They're the 8th highest projected team with the 25.3 projected total for this week. So, I mean, and I'm ready to do it. We're going to start, like I said, game by game, like Jeremy said. We are even going to touch on tonight's game if there's any plays that we like from tonight. So while you're finalizing those lineups for a little bit later, you could definitely, see who we liked in that game. One mistake I will say a lot of people do make in DFS is just because there's a Thursday night slate, that doesn't mean that you have to play players from that game. It's not necessarily the best move. I understand you want to get some action in that game, but at the same time, sometimes you're just burning money trying to force a guy in that may not be in the best matchup. So definitely, if you're going to play somebody on the Thursday night slates, make sure that there's a valid reason that you're playing that person. So let's get into it, Jeremy.
So we'll start with Thursday night, right? So if you just take a quick look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth worst over-under is a tie, and it's the Eagles at Buccaneers, and it's the Ravens at Bengals on this Thursday through Monday slate. So 44 is the game total. There's so many better spots. And just to back up what you're saying, a lot of times the best play for this slate is to just fade the Thursday night game. Right. There may be a guy who's in a perfect spot that's got, great value pick, going to see a ton of opportunity. The price is right. The defense he's going against is terrible, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you really want to get action, last year I would have told you guys to take a kicker in this game if you really want to get some action. But we don't have the kicker anymore. We've got the flex spot. So the only player that I could see taking a look at tonight, because if you're for it, and this would be probably just cash game only, just simply off what he did last week. And since we only have week 1 information, people like to follow the crowd. I can see Mixon being pretty high owned tonight. But there's still what you have to do with a Thursday through Monday is you have to play the slate. And FanDuel came out with different game modes to just play this game. And that's the one game, the slate, or whatever the thing is called, where you just play one game. Is it Showdown or whatever it is? Right. So if you want to play this slate, don't waste your whole bankroll getting into that type of game. But that's the best way to do it. There's not a lot of opportunity in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much touched on it. The only person I'm really going to look at for GPP, it's going to be Mixon. The guy had a good week last week. I know you were high on him. We had him in our player pool last week, and he didn't disappoint. So I definitely think he's worth a little bit of an ownership, even if it's just 5% of your lineups or something like that, just to kind of get a little bit of exposure to tonight's games. But, yeah, I'm with you. The Ravens, they have a good defense. They're not a defense I really want to attack, with Andy Dalton, AJ Green. And then, on the Baltimore side, I don't really like nobody on their offense. The running back situation, they were pretty much splitting carries, so we don't know what's going to happen there. Possibly you could look at Crabtree as a GPP play maybe. He had a solid week last week. But overall, yeah, I think Mixon is really going to be the only one that I would add to this player pool if we're playing tonight's game.
Well, the thing is, right, and that's another spot that you might be able to look at is the running back situation for Baltimore, because Kenneth Dixon has been put on IR. He got 13 carries. So that leaves him basically with Collins. So if you want to take a stab at this and you want to play Collins would be the running back to play on that side of the game there. But other than that, I'm not really excited to play Alex Collins. Maybe you could take a look at is Buck Allen active for this game?
I'm not sure. I didn't really, honestly.
Buck Allen's active. Maybe Buck Allen comes in on third downs. Maybe Buck Allen gets splits carries. But in the single game format, he is $7,500. He's not minimum value. So I just can't get excited about playing. That's investing my money, like $9 into an entry to play that, and then you chop the pot with 70 people if you take it down. I can't get excited about it. To me, this thing's just a full fade.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, maybe a little mix in, and that's about it. So let's move on to our next game.
So the next game, we move into Sunday, and that takes us with the Browns at the Saints. That's a 49.5 over-under. The guys automatically that come to my mind are 3 of them for the Saints. I think Drew Brees is probably my favorite quarterback so far this week. He's just in a great opportunity. High implied total, high over-under. And then you've got Kamara and you've got Michael Thomas, obviously. If you wanted to go deep, you could even look at Ben Watson.
Yeah. No, I'm going to stick with those 3 guys on the Saints. And then on the Brown side of the ball, we threw them in a couple lineups last week just for fun, and, it actually wasn't too bad. I definitely think for a sleeper GPP, just in, a couple lines, 5% of your lines just to get a little exposure, you can maybe look at Tyrod or Jarvis Landry. I think that those are probably the 2 guys that stand out for me on the Brown side, but that's kind of about where I'm at. What do you think about the Brown side?
I think you can look because of the implied total, the over under. I think that you could put Tyrod Taylor in a GPP if you want to put him in 5% of your lineups. I don't have a problem with that. I do like the receivers in the game. Deshaun Jackson had a really good game. He ended up leaving that game a little bit early. Fitzpatrick threw 4 touchdown passes. I don't think Tyrod Taylor is going to throw 4 touchdown passes. I actually think that New Orleans' defense could rebound a little bit. But, again, game flow, playing from behind, Josh Gordon's a huge weapon. They've already said he's going to play a larger role in the offense this week. It's a guy I like in tournaments, and I do like Jarvis Landry just because of the amount of targets he should see.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, that's kind of where I'm at as well. I would actually throw in. I'm sorry, I would actually throw in the Saints defense too. I do like them for GPP strictly. The Browns, like I said, I mean, they're young. We know they're going to make some mistakes. Steelers defense did solid last week. But yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at with this game.
I texted you last night a guy that I really liked in that game too. I like Cleveland's tight end, and I can't pronounce his last name, Inyuko or whatever it is. I probably butchered the guy's name. I feel bad. But I do like him. I didn't like him last week. He had a solid preseason. He's a big target. So, again, this is a game flow type deal where, you want to attack wide receivers. I don't have a problem playing him either as a deep tournament play.
Okay, definitely. All right, where we at next game?
So the next game we'll go to is Indianapolis at Washington. Washington's -6 here. They're the favorite. And then the over-under in that game coming in right now at 47.5.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely like some guys from both sides of the ball in this game for sure. For me, I'll go with Indianapolis. I mean, there's really only 2 guys that I'm looking at for Indianapolis. Andrew Luck didn't look bad last week. I definitely think he's going to go under owned again this week. I think that Andrew Luck could be a solid GPP play that we could throw in our core. We could throw in Jack Doyle, tight end. I think he's actually a really good cash game tight end this week. And actually, they have one more guy for the Colts. We could throw in T.Y. Hilton as well. I think that, a couple lineups stacked with Luck, it worked out for us last week. I definitely think we could go back to the well for that GPP wise.
Absolutely.
Miss anybody?
No.
Okay.
On the flip side of the ball, Chris Thompson's a really good play. I think he's probably my favorite play in that game. I just think he's going to see a lot of opportunity to catch the ball out of the backfield. I think he'll have some carries in that game if it gets out of hand. I've mentioned it before. Adrian Peterson's age, he's not gonna be a workhorse where he's gonna get 30 carries a game. He may be their lead back and their primary back, but in a game where they have an inferior opponent, the Indianapolis defense is really bad. I could see Thompson having a lot of opportunity. I believe he's coming in our projections on our site high as well.
Okay, yeah, no, I definitely saw. I mean, it's somebody I like as well. Did you throw in Jordan Reed right there?
I did not throw in Jordan Reed, but you can't miss Jordan Reed with the way Alex Smith likes to check the ball down, throw it to tight ends.
Right, yeah. So me, Washington, is pretty much Jordan Reed, Alex Smith, and then, like you said, Thompson, and then Peterson, I still think is a solid GPP. Still fresh earlier, a little bit early in the season.
Yeah.
All right.
The thing about Reed, too, for tournaments is that because he's so injury prone, people don't like to play him. I mean, he's got to be like in the absolute chalk situation for him to be high owned.
Right.
It's kind of like Anthony Davis with NBA, right? Like, you want to pay him, but I want to pay up for him because he's always getting hurt.
Right.
So we'll move on. We'll move on to the next game. Next game we're looking at is Detroit at San Francisco, a game I really like myself. I'm definitely looking at the 49ers this game. I don't know what the Goodwin situation is going to be yet. We're monitoring that. Yesterday was the first day injury reports came out. He looks to be limited if he even goes this week with that contusion to his thigh. And that's the thing with wide receivers, right? Guys that make their money with their legs, a banged-up leg of any kind is a big deal. And we're only in week 2, and they have high aspirations with that team. So I really like Jimmy Garoppolo this week. I think there's 2 things in his favor. 1, game flow, their implied total, right? That's 1. And 2, the news has been so negative on him, like that he's the one not having a good go of it so far. But he's had so many drops around him. I mean, he had 2 touchdown passes dropped last week against Minnesota. So I like Garoppolo a lot in tournaments, and then I love George Kittle this week too.
Yeah, I mean, I've been George Kittle's been popping up everywhere. All my projections that I've been doing, so I definitely like Kittle. Garoppolo, I could see him lower owned than he should be and having a solid game. Yeah, so I definitely like those guys. So on the Detroit side of it, I definitely think Stafford's going to bounce back, have a good game. That's probably going to be my first person I would look at on Detroit. You can also look at both of his receivers. The problem is you don't know which one's going to have a good game. And Marvin Jones and Golden Tate. It's like one week one does something, the next week the other one does. So that's kind of the one that's a little bit of a coin toss. So for me, definitely I think you could look at both receivers and you could look at Matthew Stafford. I don't know if I'm going to go any more deeper than that on the Lions. Do you have anybody else for us on the Lions?
No, but something really interesting to look at going forward and kind of keep an eye on is the Ebron effect, right? I mean, we liked Doyle last week a lot, and one of the things we were talking about when we were doing this exact build of our player pool was, do we like Doyle and will Ebron take anything away from him? Doyle ended up getting his targets, but in that first half when Ebron scored a touchdown, we were like, damn, Ebron, right? So how much does yeah, how much does Ebron affect what's going on with that offense? Because Golden Tate's really not a number 2 receiver. He's a slot guy. I mean, he makes his money coming out of the slot. So Marvin Jones definitely is a number 1 receiver. He's got the body for it, the whole 9 yards. But I think that's something to watch. And Detroit struggles to run the football. I mean, that's just known. They haven't had a good running game in years. So, how much are teams saying, hey, we're only going to bring 6, run it at us, and we're going to take, we're going to zone you and play quarter, half, or play man under and make you throw the football 40 times. So I think that's something to watch going forward.
Okay. So what game we're looking at now?
So Minnesota, they're going to Lambeau Field. 46 is the total on this game. Anybody you like on either side of this?
So I mean, I think we can definitely get some of the Minnesota wide receivers in there. We played them a little bit last week. Got a little exposure. I think that you can kind of look at those guys any week right now. Kirk Cousins likes to throw the ball. So I definitely, I think you could look at Thielen. I think you could look at Diggs. A guy that I like too, he's going to be low owned, is going to be the running back Cook. I like Cook. Last week he had a decent game. We liked him last week. We had him in a couple lineups, but we didn't have that much exposure because we wanted to kind of see what was going to go on, how they were going to use them. And I got a lot of positives out of how they used him last week. So I definitely think that we could throw him in the player pool as well for Minnesota.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook. He runs 31 pass routes. He's on the field for 80% of their snaps. He got like 66% of their total running back touches. So, I'm pretty sure he's fine, and I'm pretty sure Minnesota feels he's fine, and they're going to give him what he can handle. And they've got a lot of weapons. They've got a lot of weapons, like you said, the slot receivers. It's unknown right now what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. He's playing a little cat and mouse game with the media. I don't know if you saw the interview he did last night where he was kind of saying, oh, it's kind of that. No, more towards the first with sprained knee, torn MCL, whatever. I just don't know really what's going to go on with that. They have explosive receivers. The game could blow up. I think that you have to monitor that situation as we get to Saturday and see who's playing. If Rodgers is playing, then I think you look at the wide receivers. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, which I think he will, it's Minnesota, it's a rivalry game. But if he didn't play, I would really like Dalvin Cook a lot more. I'd really like him a lot more.
They're going to get ahead and they're just going to run. One more guy I quickly want to mention too, and I'm not even going to talk about him, but you can also throw in Rudolph. He's top 5 tight end in the league right now. And we talked about Kirk Cousins like to sling the ball around the field. So I definitely think we can add him as well. So you ready to move on to our next game?
Yeah, and then one other thing too with adding Rudolph, just look at Kirk Cousins. We take a look at Alex Smith, and we like Jordan Reed because the fact that Alex Smith likes to check the ball down, throw it to the tight end. Kirk Cousins made Jordan Reed, right?
Right. That's true. That's definitely very true.
You got Rudolph, a big target, a big body. You got Kirk Cousins. You got to like him a little bit too. So the next game we'll move on to is Oakland at Denver. Denver -6. The total in that one is 46. That's the 5th highest over-under of the week as it sits right now. Emmanuel Sanders is a guy I loved last week. I still like him again this week. I think that Denver now has a quarterback. Case Keenum is very serviceable. He's been very serviceable. He was like the guy that led up to Jared Goff. He's been all over the place. He's got a 2-year deal with them. The crazy thing is that you could travel in so many teams where a 2-year deal makes you feel like you have security. But I think that does something for him. He can throw the football, and you got to like those wide receivers. They finally got a quarterback that can give him the ball. Sanders moves back to the slot, his natural position. And then as high as I was on Sanders last week, I'm probably that high on Demaryius Thomas this week. I just think Demaryius Thomas is in a great spot. He is the better wide receiver of the two of them, if you want to talk just pure wide receiver. The guy's a target monster. I mentioned on a video we did earlier in the week that Jarvis Landry kind of would have unfair targets charted to him because the ball was so badly thrown. I think Demaryius Thomas got a lot of targets that were so badly thrown, and it kind of messes with the catch ratio if we're looking at deep into numbers. I think Demaryius Thomas is in an absolute unreal spot. And then I would completely fade the running back situation there until we have on the Denver side, until we really know what's going on. But I know you like on the flip side of it, Jared Cook, you like him to do damage against Denver, who struggle with tight ends.
I mean, he's honestly the only guy that I'm looking at on the Raiders side. I mean, Derek Carr didn't look good. Jordy Nelson and Cooper, they looked lost last week. I gotta see them have kind of build up a rapport, a little something solid before. But Jared Cook, I mean, he's cheap on FanDuel, only 5,000. He led the league last week in targets with 12. So Jared Cook for me, I think he's going to be on a lot of my lineups this week, but he's really going to be the only Raider that I'm looking at.
He led all tight ends, you mean, right?
I'm sorry. Yeah, all tight ends.
You had me tripping for a minute because I was like, I think Michael Thomas had like 16.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant all tight ends, 12 targets. So
yeah. So that's really it for me, man. I mean, if this game was later in the year and they were both, this was trying to get the division champ, the league champ, their AFC West championship, I should say, then I might be more interested in this game. But the Raiders don't look good. They look like they're rebuilding. Which is sad because they had so many weapons with Cooper and Crabtree and, bringing Cook in and then Derek Carr. They looked really good. They don't look that way right now. That defense is really bad. Their defense is really bad. So that's it for me on that one. We'll move on. Next game up is Arizona's at the Rams. They're minus 13, 45.5, and I believe Arizona has the lowest implied total on the board as it sits right now.
Yeah,
I'm not looking to get anybody off Arizona. I'm still kind of hung up on baseball. Not to say I'm not doing the research, but I mean, I couldn't tell you who Arizona's starting quarterback is. I don't even know. I mean, it's a situation that I want to fade completely. But on the flip side of it, the Rams defense was a pick last night on the video for you. And I mean, I think they're in a great spot.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, I'll make this one short, simple, not playing anybody from the Cardinals, even David Johnson. I mean, maybe in 1 or 2 lineups, but that's about it. On the Rams side, I mean, you can look at the defense. We can look at Gurley. We could pretty much look at the whole offense. We can look at the wide receivers. They all did well last week. They didn't really. There wasn't like one that did hella good and the other ones did bad. Everybody got theirs for the most part. I mean, you could definitely look at the quarterback in Goff. But, I mean, that's it. I mean, you can look at pretty much anybody on the Rams, nobody on the Cardinals. And, I'm ready to move on to the next game if you are.
Yeah, I mean, again, how much Melvin Gordon how much Todd Gurley do you want to give up if they get up 21 points, how much do you want to run? It's week 2.
Right. They don't want to run them into the ground for sure.
The only guy that I would really look to put in a couple of lineups from that game, and it may change as we get deeper in the process, is Cooper Kupp. Just because he's a red zone target and he's a third down target. He kind of reminds me of you remember Wayne Corbett for the Jets back in the day? Just moves the chains. The guy just moves the chains. He kind of reminds me of him.
Right.
Moving on, we've got the New England is at Jacksonville. I don't know from a weather standpoint if this hurricane is going to affect that game at all, even with rain. We'll have to monitor that and see how that hurricane develops as it makes landfall. I don't like this game very much at all. I don't know what's going to happen in certain spots. I know that you could probably play one of the wide receivers for New England, Rex Burkhead. I haven't seen today the injury report. I know yesterday he didn't practice with a concussion. Concussion rule, just so everybody knows what I look at, what we look at as far as concussion goes. The way the protocol works, right, is that you have to be symptom-free for a certain period of time. The NFL practice week starts typically on Wednesday. um, through Saturday. So if on Wednesday the guy's not practicing, it's not really a big deal. But come Friday, you look at two things. If on Friday the guy's still not practicing, he probably is a no-go because he's not going to be able to be symptom-free long enough to be cleared for the game. And every time you have so you go 1 day in protocol and you have no symptoms, that gives you 1 day. You have to get 3 days symptom-free before you can, advance to the protocol. So if he's practicing Friday, that means he's at the end of the protocol. He's probably going to go. If he doesn't go, I can see throwing James White in because I don't know who else they have at running back. And he does catch the ball to the backfield. I could see that as a GPP play. I could also see playing Hogan as a GPP play. I was kind of right and alluded to it on the video we did with the 5-pack guys with Jalen Ramsey. Probably going to bracket Gronk. I mean, the shit talking's at an all-time high right now between the two of them. Gronk's not buying into it, but everybody in the media is on it with Ramsey saying he's not as good as what everybody thinks he is. So I would avoid Gronk. If you want to take a flyer on Phil Dorsett, feel fine to do that there. But I think low points, low scoring, I'm avoiding pretty much everybody in this game. Leonard Fournette not out. TJ Yeldon. That's a guy you could probably look at. But I don't really know how excited I am about that because there's better spots for running backs than Yeldon. If you want to go really off the board, maybe look at Yeldon. Keenan Cole was a chalk last week at wide receiver. Price went up. I'm not sure how much you want to go after him either. I don't trust Blake Bortles a lot. And if there's weather, I really don't trust him. So that's really it for me. I don't know what you've got from that game.
I mean, you pretty much touched on everybody that I had. I definitely like Dorsett. I think Dorsett is a solid GPP play. He got a bunch of targets last week. He took Hogan's targets away. So yeah, I mean, I like Philip Dorsett. I like White, the running back. And then on Jacksonville's side, the only guy that I was even looking at a little bit was Cole. Cole's still too cheap, only 5,500. He is their number one wide receiver. He led them in yards last week. I mean, that's it. That's about all I got as well. I'm not really too excited about this game.
Low point total. Don't know what this hurricane effect's going to have on it. Doesn't look very exciting. Doesn't look sexy. I mean, I'm not going to put anybody in the pool from that right now. That's a good point why we're building this, right? Let everybody know, like, we start with initial pool and it will dwindle down. We're giving you the process of how we go through to build the initial pool.
I don't want to hear nobody tell me this later. So any week you could possibly play at least one lineup with Tom Brady. I will throw that in there, but he's not somebody I'm really going to be looking at this week.
It's Tom Brady. He can shred anybody on any given Sunday, right?
All right. So what we got next?
Carolina getting the hell out of Carolina as the hurricane comes, and they are at Atlanta. I like this game. I like the Atlanta side of it. Atlanta's minus 5.5. It is only 44.5. It's kind of in the middle range here of these over-unders. I think Julio Jones is in a really good spot. I think Julio Jones is the guy that we'll get to one of my other favorite receivers later. I think he'll have more ownership than Julio Jones will as a top-tier wide receiver. I think Julio Jones is in a good spot. I haven't seen – do we know what's going on with Freeman from a running back standpoint?
All right.
So that's something to keep an eye on too. I think you're going to mention that Tom Brady's playable on any given week. Matt Ryan's also playable on any given week with the amount of times they throw the ball. I'd monitor the running back situation. It could be a spot for Coleman. Other than that, that's probably the only guys I'm looking at. I don't have anybody besides Julio that I've plugged into our player pool yet, just because we don't know what's going on with the running back situation. When we figure that out, maybe you avoid that altogether if Freeman does play, or if he's out, you look at Coleman and Matt Ryan.
Okay, yeah, and then on the Carolina side of things, there's really only two people that I think we should put in. But I definitely think we should have a little bit of exposure to both of them. Cam Newton, I mean, with his running upside, he runs in the touchdowns. He can have a monster week any week. He's played well in the past against Atlanta. These games are usually high scoring. So I definitely think we can look at, Cam Newton. And the other guy that I think we could look at would be McCaffrey. Last week, he didn't dud on us. He got sharked for a TD. They were up, so they didn't really have to throw the ball very much. So he didn't get as much action in the pass game as we would like. This week, I think he's going to get a couple extra targets. They're showing that they do want him on the field. I like McCaffrey this week. I think he's going to be low owned, strictly GPP. We played him last week in cash. It didn't kill us, but this week for me, he's going to be a GPP play only. But I do like McCaffrey and Cam, and that's about as far as I'm going on the Panthers.
I hate to feel like I'm looking too far into something because then you kind of feel like you're chasing it. But I've coached football for 17 years, and I can tell you right now, when you're in a game and a guy fumbles, he's on your shit list pretty quick. But when you go back and watch the tape and you see like maybe a guy just made a really good play, I think he got sharked for that touchdown because they were going to feed him the ball, and they did feed him the ball to score, and Dallas defender just made a great play and stripped the ball.
Right.
So he fumbled it, and that's probably why he gets sharked later in the game. I think they go back and look at the film and see we blew blocking assignments for one, and a guy made a really good play on the ball. He just swiped the football. So, I mean, I don't see him getting sharp going forward. I think he gets a little redemption there. And a guy who's going to see targets and carries is always a guy that you're going to want to target as long as his price stays fair.
Right. All right. I'm ready to move on.
Another game I don't really have a lot of interest in, which is Houston Texans at the Tennessee Titans. Houston's -2, 44.5 is the over/under there. Just don't have a lot of interest in this game. I can't even try to talk it up to maybe get somebody out of there. As the week progresses and we get to Saturday, this is a situation where we would probably add somebody from that if it looked like it was going to be a really good matchup. But I'm just not excited to play anybody in this game. The only guy that I would want to play in this game would probably be Hopkins. Maybe make a case for Fuller if he goes. But this game doesn't excite me at all.
Right. So for me, Watson, I like Watson this week at quarterback. I think he's going to have a bounce back week. Really good week this week against Tennessee. Also, I don't know if Mariota's going to go. I know he's a little bit banged up right now. If he doesn't go, I like the Texans defense. Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of where I'm at too. Is I would Watson paired up with Hopkins for GPP, get that stack. But like I said, maybe look at the Texans defense. And, yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. I'm not really going to look past that anymore.
So moving on, we've got Philadelphia at Tampa Bay. The weird thing for me is the totals in this, right? It's a 44 over/under. Philadelphia's -3. This feels so fishy to me. It just feels like a really fishy spot. And I don't know if it's because Fitzpatrick and they think that Fitzpatrick's going to keep him in the game. It's just a fishy game. I love Philadelphia as a defense. I think that that's a Super Bowl winning defense. They got after Matt Ryan last week. They forced turnover and got a pick last week. That game did come down, like I said in the previous video, that game did come down to the last possession of the game. But for me, I love Philly's defense. Outside of that, maybe Aguilar. But I'm not real excited to play Tampa Bay. I just think that was – I don't know what that was.
Yeah, for me, I'm looking on my depth chart I got right now. The only guys – actually, I have three guys. I have three guys written down for this game. Aguilar, I think he's too cheap. With Jeffries out right now, he's their clear-cut number one. So I think he's a really good cash game play. I'm with you on the – I was actually, after you talked about Philadelphia's defense, I looked into it a little bit more. I do like the Eagles' defense as well. And lastly, a guy that I want to mention real quick is Zach Ertz. He's a top 5 tight end right now in the league. So I definitely think that he's somebody that, even if it's just a couple lines, you could throw him in there. I don't know exactly what did Ben Watson do last week for the Saints.
Watson last week. Watson was a guy we liked last week a little bit. We had some exposure to him. Let me pull up Watson and see what he did last week.
And then one thing, I mean, but it's different with Watson compared to Ertz. Watson is just kind of there. They have Michael Thomas he was throwing to over and over, where Ertz is pretty much right now the best pass catcher. So, I mean, either way, I like Ertz. I mean, it is what it is for sure.
Yeah, it's Ertz, and he's shown time in and time out that he's going to get targets. He's going to attract targets in the red zone. He is a big play threat. So, anytime that you can get Zach Ertz, and he's at a fair price right now too. And like I said, this game just smells fishy to me. I don't know why the total is low. I don't know why the spread is so close. I get that it's at Tampa Bay. It could be a humidity and weather thing. Maybe thinking that Philly coming out of a cold weather city, but it's not even there yet. It's still humid and raining for MLB, right? So I just don't get this game. It's fishy. Not a lot of guys I like out of it. Last week, just to answer your question really quick, Watson had 4 targets, 4 catches for 44 yards.
Yeah, so I mean, he caught all of his targets. They weren't guard. It's not like he was 2 for 4 and they were guarding him good. I mean, everyone throwing to him, he did catch. So a little bit more of a case for Ertz. I definitely think we could throw Ertz in there for sure.
Next game we got is Miami at the Jets. -3 is the Jets coming up. Go ahead.
Get into this, okay? I think this game is pretty much a total scratch off for me. I mean, that's where I'm at. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the Jets are -3, 43.5 is the total. It's an early game on the slate. The one guy that I like in tournaments is Darnold. Not because of what he did last week, maybe a little bit because it just affirmed what I already thought and knew. The Jets were high on this guy for a reason. They took him and not Baker Mayfield for a reason. They thought that this guy was the most NFL ready to start right now. If you look at the pick he threw, I was at football practice and people were texting us like, "Oh, Darnold's first attempt, he got picked." Ha ha ha. They ran a screen. It was a throwback screen, a design throwback screen that didn't fool the corner. It was poor play design. The kid threw the ball. He got picked. Okay.
Right.
That's not who this kid is. Trust me. In a way, it is as far as he knows how to execute. He's going to execute the offense. I think he is ice cold. He fits perfect in New York. I loved him at SC. I am a big SC fan. But I do like Darnold. I do like some of their wide receivers. I don't like their wide receivers enough to throw them in tournaments yet or in our pool. But Darnold is definitely somebody moving forward that I think has the mentality to be a top-tier NFL quarterback. He's so much like – if you think of guys in New York, right, that have got it right and nothing's affected them, look at Eli Manning and his demeanor. Look at Derek Jeter, his demeanor. Sam Darnold's the same type of guy, man. He's the same type of not too high, not too low, just going to go play football.
Right. So, I mean, if you're liking, Darnold a little bit, then one guy that I would throw in there, maybe could do a little mini stack for tournaments, would be Quincy Enunwa.
Yeah.
Last week, the guy got 10 targets, caught 6 of them for 63 yards and a touchdown. He's 5,000. Very good price tag.
And he was good. I mean, he was good last year.
Right. So, I mean, if you are going to do a little Darnold, I definitely think you should write him down, and we could get a couple lines maybe with that stack for GPP.
Here comes a good spot right here, right? So the Chargers are at the Bills. The Chargers are -7.5. The total on that one is only 43, and that's because the Bills are not very good at all.
Second lowest projected total on the week.
They finally announced their starting quarterback, and I think that's more of they just could not tell their fans they were going to roll Peterman out again.
They're like, well, at least they got an excuse that it's a young guy, and they're just trying to get him in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Go ahead with who you like. I mean, I know you're big on the Chargers D too.
So, I mean, I like the Chargers defense first and foremost. I definitely think if you're not going to go with the Rams, you can look at the Chargers defense. I'm just going to hit it hard for you real quick so you don't got to do much, Jeremy. You can look at Phillip Rivers. I mean, any week you can pretty much look at him. This week, I think that you can really look at him. You can look at Allen, Keenan Allen on the outside. He's still a little bit underpriced. He should be a little bit more expensive. He's getting the same usage pretty much as Antonio Brown and Julio Jones, and he's almost 1,000 less. So I like Allen. I think he's a really good cash game play. And then a guy that you talked about on our running back video yesterday, Melvin Gordon. I mean, the guys, like I was telling you, they were talking about how he was saying he's fully healthy this year for the first time in his career. He gets his catches, he gets his carries. He's a true 3-down workhorse. So I like Melvin Gordon. I mean, I'm not going to really go outside of those three, though. The guy Benjamin last week, he's cheap, but this guy dropped 2 wide-open touchdowns. I will not go anywhere near him, not even for GPP. So it's just those 3 guys plus the defense for me.
The only guy outside of that I would target would be the other 2 receivers, and I'd probably go with Tyrell Williams first because he did score a touchdown. Okay. But they're 2 receivers. If you want to go deep off in a tournament like his one-off plays, I don't mind throwing those guys in as your third receiver. You know, Benjamin, $5,400, probably not a guy I would go to. I would probably go to Tyrell Williams at $5,800. I think that Tyrell Williams is probably, you know, and with Tyrell Williams, let's set the expectation. 5 targets, 2 catches, right? 8 yards and a touchdown is what he got. He's a big play guy, though. And if he catches you 1 touchdown that's 60 yards, that sends your lineup way up the boards because probably nobody else owns him or he's at a very, very low owned percentage. And he more than exceeded value. So I think that that's a stretch. The 3 guys you mentioned are pretty spot on. Buffalo, I'm not playing.
Yeah, I'm not even looking at them. I mean, if you're ready, I'm ready to move on.
I don't even think it's one of those things like don't even get cute, right? You don't even need to get cute with it. So Seattle's at Chicago. That's the Monday night game. Before we hit that with the Sunday night game, which is the New York Football Giants at our Dallas Cowboys. I don't know what Dallas is -3. They're 42.5 is the total in the game. I don't think it's a bad spot to play Zeke. He's eaten up the Giants previously. I don't know what's going on with Dak. We could probably sit here and talk about the Cowboys forever because that is the team that you and I both root for. But I'm not excited for it. If you're looking for a player that you want as a kicker, I might look to the Monday night game. But from a tournament standpoint, this game's going to be really low owned. The Giants, Eli Manning has always played well against the Cowboys. They've stolen some season openers from us on Sunday night before with Eli playing really well. If you want to do a Eli Odell stack in a few lineups, I don't have a problem with it. At this point, they're not going to make our player pool. The only guy that I would put in the player pool right now at a very low percentage of our total entries would be Zeke, just because it's Zeke. He has the opportunity, which he did a few times during his career, to take a screen or a swing or a check down, 60 yards for a big play, and then he is going to get carries. I mean, they're paying him a lot of money. They're paying the offensive line a lot of money. And I don't know what's up with Dak. I mean, I think that the loss of Dez it is only 1 week. I get it. But he didn't just lose Dez. Jason Witten retired. So that's 2 weapons. They don't have weapons. Now Cole Beasley he's a slot receiver.
We pretty much have 3 slot receivers. It's pretty much what's going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? We got Hearns, you got Beasley, and then you got what's his name that we got from the Rams? What's the guy?
I can't think of his name.
Huh?
I can't think of his name.
Slot receiver guy though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got 3 slot receivers we're trying to run out. For me on this game, I'm gonna be looking at Elliott. I got him as my 5th best running back on the week. And then after Elliott, I mean, like you said, you could do an Eli to Odell stack maybe for GPP. Lastly, a guy that I will throw in that you didn't mention was I like Barkley. I liked what I seen from him last week. Honestly, I'm a Cowboys fan. You see it behind me. But, I mean, our defense isn't very good. And I definitely think that he can have a solid week. We talked about McCaffrey. He didn't have the best week, but he didn't do bad at all. And he got sharp. He could have had 2 TDs. Barkley's going to get those goal line carries. So if he had the same exact, stats as McCaffrey last week, but got those 2 touchdowns, we would have been going crazy. So I like Barkley. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not really going to go beyond that.
Yeah, I can't disagree with Barkley. The only thing that worries me and why I'm not heavier on Zeke, I think Zeke's in a good spot. I've been saying it all season so far and all off season. Once Jason Witten retired, they couldn't lose Dez and lose Witten because they have no weapons. And now Dak's not that great of a quarterback. I mean, it was fun when we went on a run with them. It was fun, and they both, we had 2 rookies doing what they did. But if I'm coaching this from just a football coaching standpoint, I'm going to make Dak beat me. I'm going to stack the box and say, Zeke, you're not beating me. Play man coverage and make Dak throw the football 25, 30 times and see what happens. But that's the only thing that worries me about Zeke, and that's probably why I'm not heavier on him. Not to say he's not in a good spot, though. But
yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. That's where I'm at, too, and that's what I feel a lot of teams are going to do to us. 8 in the box. All right, what are you going to do? Throw to these weak-ass slot receivers? I mean, come on, Jerry Jones. We got all this money. Spend a little money. Get us somebody good. shit.
Jerry Jones knows it too. I mean, he's on doing the interviews talking about Dak is below, what do you say, Matt Ryan or Aaron Rodgers and Cam Newton or something like that. He's like right there with him. He might be, but at least Aaron Rodgers has got weapons all the way around him. I mean, he's got 3 receivers, a tight end, Montgomery, and they just got Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham will be a factor at some point. We don't have those weapons. So I'm going to move on. That takes us to the Monday night game. Seattle's at Chicago. Seattle is a defense to me that's living off reputation still. I think that it's only a matter of time before they really get exposed. Seattle's not really a good football team anymore. The offensive line, if you look from just the offensive line standpoint and what they bring to the table, it's not much. They've struggled to protect Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson makes more plays out of the pocket than anybody. If I was going to look at one play from the Seattle side of it, it would be Russell Wilson, just with his playmaking ability. I don't like anybody other than that. Chicago, I think you can play guys from Chicago. You can play Jordan Howard. You can play their 1-2 punch and running back. You can play Mitchell Trubisky. He looked really, really good. He made some really solid throws. They got in quicksand, though. I mean, the harder they tried to fight Aaron Rodgers bringing back Green Bay, the worse off they got. It's a young team. They've got some young guys on that team, especially the quarterback spot. But I'm not excited to play guys from this game. If you want to kick a Monday night kicker in your Thursday, Sunday lineups, I don't know if I could tell you to play Russell Wilson as that guy just because there's so many quarterbacks in better spots. I don't know if I could tell you to play Jordan Howard there because there's so many guys in other spots. If you were going to play 150 lines in a tournament, then I would say get a few lineups that have them as kickers for Monday night. But other than that, it's not an exciting game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like anybody from this game. One thing I will mention, though, if you were going to do 1 or 2 lineups with Trubisky, I think I would stack them with Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson the past couple of years, he's had really, really good seasons, and he's shown us he could be a wide receiver 1 with Jacksonville. Last week, he had a good first half. Second half, he didn't have a very good second half, but none of the Bears had a very good second half. So if you were going to go Trubisky, I think I would stack him with Allen Robinson. His best receiver, he's 6,500, so he's a very fair price tag.
The thing to me is game flow in this, and that's why I mentioned Jordan Howard. And I think if you go back and think about what happened in that Sunday night game, they were like a deer in headlights in the second half. I mean, why it was kind of like a flashback to the Super Bowl with Atlanta and New England. Like Atlanta has this huge lead at halftime, and then they come out and they're chucking the rock around the yard and turning it over on downs and 3 and out. And
yeah, honestly, what I think happened was they're a young ass team. They were already nervous going against Aaron Rodgers to start the game, and then they built a little bit of confidence early. They were rolling. They see Aaron Rodgers go out, so they're like, "Oh shit, this is our game." And then when they seen him come out in the second half, like you said, deer in the headlights. Holy shit, Rodgers is back. They fucking got nervous. Butterflies. The rest is history.
Well, what to me, what happens is Green Bay. And this is why what Seattle doesn't have that I think Green Bay does have, even though I think Green Bay's defense is still vulnerable. Green Bay has edge rushers, right? And they kept throwing it, and they kept putting pressure on Trubisky, and he made a couple bad decisions and errant throws, etc. And that's why I say why I think they'll learn the lesson. Go back, watch the tape, learn a lesson, and you get a lead in the game, grind it out with your running back. So Howard's a guy that is an RB2. I wouldn't mind playing in a few lineups. Outside of that, like I said, I'm not excited about this game.
Right. Yeah, I'm ready to move on.
That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Man, all right. Well, hey, real quick before we get out of here, if you don't mind, can you take a quick second and kind of recap for our viewers? If you guys don't mind out there, please get a pen and paper. Write this down real quick. This is what we got going through all the games at each position. The guys that we're going to be looking at, I definitely would, like you to write this down, and you could kind of go from there when you start building your lineups for tonight and for Sunday main slate. So go ahead, Jeremy. Get us going.
So quarterback, we've got 10 of them. Breeze, Garoppolo, Stafford, Goff, Cam Newton, Watson, Darnold, Luck, Tyrod Taylor, and Phillip Rivers. And that's in no particular order. That's just kind of how we went through the slate. If I was ranking my top overall out of that, I would definitely say it's Drew Brees is my top overall quarterback, and I think he's safe in both cash and in GPP. I'm not sure if you feel the same way about that.
Yeah, no, I have real quick. I mean, I could give you my top five. I like Drew Brees. I like Stafford. I'll give you my top four. I like Brees. I like Stafford. I like Watson. I like Smith. Those are my top four. We do have all of those in our player pool. That's where I'm at quarterback wise.
Running back wise, and this is really how we're giving you a process of how we do our initial build, and we'll evaluate this and add or subtract as we get into Saturday. But running back, we're light right now, and I think that's really indicative of what the slate is and where the opportunities are so far. But we've got Kamara, Thompson, Dalvin Cook, Gordon, McCaffrey, and Gurley. And Kamara, to me, another guy, you can plug him in, safe for cash, safe for GPPs. There's a little correlation there if you want to run Brees and Kamara out there. It's really hard to make an argument if you're going to stack anything up against Brees, Kamara, and Thomas again, just because of how heavy the production was last week. That's a pretty good indicator of what they're going to be doing going forward, especially without Ingram. And again, running back, that's in no particular order either.
Hey, Jeremy, really quick, did we skip the KC and Pittsburgh game?
You know what? I think we did, dude. And
Okay,
you know what? I thought we hit that first because it was a top game on my list. But if we didn't hit that game, we need to do that really quick.
Yeah, let's do that. And then so we'll come. So we gave you our quarterbacks. We're gonna come back to running backs. Let's just talk about this KC and Pitts game real quick, because this game I'm gonna have a ton of exposure to this game. Ton. So,
yeah, go ahead and add two more quarterbacks to your list because you can play both Roethlisberger and Mahomes. I know Roethlisberger hasn't practiced yet this week, but he's an old man, and that's probably more precautionary than anything else. Just no need to practice him right now.
Yeah, I have him graded out as my 5th best quarterback. That's why I was like, hold on a second. Yeah, so
that's my favorite game too. It was number one on the list. I can't believe we skipped it. But that game is 53. It's the highest total on the board. There's so much good stuff to like in this game. We gave you Travis Kelce already in one of the tournament picks in the earlier video. My favorite play on the board all week is Antonio Brown. I just think that we're not going to get him at sub $9,000 again. This is the last shot for this season. You're going to pay less than $9,000 for Antonio Brown. You have to play Connor in cash. It's a free square. Not just because of the situation he's in, but he produced last week. Because he produced, he's going to be even heavier chalk this week. I think Ben Roethlisberger, who says he's in the best shape of his life, he's a good play. Mahomes showed you he could play. You got the second most, if not to make an argument for the most electric player in all the NFL. On one hand, you got Kamara with the Saints. On the other hand, you have to mention Tyreek Hill. And then, there's just a game that is this high with an over-under and this high with two teams that are implied totals. You have to fit players from this game in your lineups.
Right. Yeah, the only other player that I would throw in is Juju Smith. The guy had a solid week last week.
Yep.
I think he's a really good pivot off of Antonio Brown. He's a lot cheaper. He's going to be low owned. You hit everybody else, pretty much. You hit the right spots. I like Mahomes. I like Tyreek Hill. I like the running back Hunt, Kels, and then Roethlisberger, Big Brown, Connor, and Smith. Yeah, for sure. So So let's get back real quick to our top running backs real quick.
A guy in that game that I think may be a little, and I'm not saying he's going to be 50% owned, but if he's 12 to 15% owned, I think it's too high. And that's Jesse James. Jesse James was a good play last week because Vance McDonald didn't play, but Vance McDonald's practiced this week, meaning he's probably playing this week.
Right.
I don't have his salary in front of me, but that may be another guy you can look at. He will definitely steal targets away from Jesse James and make Jesse James kind of irrelevant. So don't get hung up and play Jesse James just because he did well last week.
Right.
So running back, we've got Kamara, Thompson, Dalvin Cook, Gordon, McCaffrey, Gurley, and then Connor and Kareem Hunt. And that rounds out our running backs. The running backs we're targeting so far for the purpose of building our pool. In no particular order, like I was saying, Kamara, again, safe for cash, safe for GPPs. Gordon is probably safe for both, but there's not really a reason to go there just because of the matchup. And then I wouldn't say that Todd Gurley's safe for GPPs just because of the spread in that one. They're minus 13. Don't know how many carries he's actually going to get. He's explosive though. And that's it for running backs.
You mean Todd Gurley's safe for cash?
Yeah. Right. That's it, Gordon?
Yeah. Okay. So wide receiver, what do we end up coming up with?
So we've got Malcolm Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Josh Gordon, T.Y. Hilton, Marvin Jones and Golden Tate, Emmanuel Sanders, Demaryius Thomas, Cooper Kupp, and Cooks. We've got Julio Jones, Hopkins, Aguilar, Anua, Allen. And one thing we didn't mention about Allen is did his price not change? He's 8,000 last week.
That's what I'm saying, bro. And he had a good game last week. He didn't have a bad game.
Oh, he had a really good game. I mean,
honestly, he's probably gonna be a cash game block again this week. It is what it is.
He's gonna get targets as long as he's healthy.
Right.
Antonio Brown, Juju Smith, and Tyreek Hill. That rounds out our wide receivers. Quite a bit more wide receivers as opposed to running backs. You got to play 3 of them. We feel those are really the wide receivers we're targeting this week. I can't see us expanding that at all. I mean, I think we cover wide receivers pretty well.
Right.
Not to give anything away, but we'll probably limit this down to who our top wide receivers are when we do our wide receiver video later on tonight. Tight end wise, Doyle, Reed, Kittle, Rudolph, Cook, Ertz, and Kelsey. Nothing in that pool is super tricky. It's pretty straightforward. Those are the guys that are in good matchups, high implied totals, high over-unders. I can't see us adding or subtracting from that right now either. Defense, we've only got 4 defenses that we're looking at so far. The funny thing is the same 4 defenses that we were on for our video last night, our defense and tight end video, and that's the Rams, the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Chargers. There are other plays.
The only other one that I would add to that I like the Texans defense, especially.
Yeah, you could add them to that, especially if Mariota doesn't play. They don't have Delaney Walker. They don't have a great wide receiving core.
Right.
You could definitely add the Texans there. The Texans, I think that the comments I've seen is that they're really excited that they're finally healthy as a defense.
Right.
So I can't argue that one. Outside of that, I don't really see a lot of spots that I mean, you could probably make an argument because of the low total with Jacksonville and New England that one of those defenses could have a really good day. I'm just not excited doing this. Probably a deep.
I'm staying away from that for sure.
Yeah, they're deep. It's more of a deep tournament play situation. But other than that, from a defensive standpoint, I think that's really where we're at. And
Right.
you don't need a million defenses, right? You want to really narrow it down to like 5. I think we're at 5 right now with throwing in the Texans.
Right. So, well, hey everybody. I mean, I think that's kind of where we're at right now. So I know you guys are probably like, well, you guys gave us 10 to 15 plays at at some positions. We actually do start narrowing it down as the week goes on. But, like we did with you guys today, we went through each game and kind of figured out if we would even consider playing people. Once we consider it, okay, then we say we'll go back, maybe tomorrow, the next day, okay, why would we consider it? What are we really going to get from them? And we usually try to narrow it down. I would say, maybe 5 to 8 plays each position that we use to build our 150 lineups for this week. That's about right, about 5 to 8 each position?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, too, is for us, for purposes of a player pool build, we're doing it predicated on the fact that we're going to play a couple of tournaments that we're going to max enter those tournaments. And you don't have to max enter to win a tournament. Our buddy at DFS 5-Pack took 50 G's down last night on 3 entries. But it's a reduced field tournament too, right? So we're building our pool really based off the fact that we're going to max enter tournaments off this pool, and we want variation around a core of players. So from this, that's where we'll really go next, is developing a core for cash and a core for tournaments, and then trying to use our optimizer to lock that core in and then optimize from a pool around it.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely, this is our first time kind of doing this kind of video for you guys, showing you guys how we are building our player pool for the week. If this video helps you guys out and you guys like it, or if you got any advice on how we can make this better for you guys, hit us in the comments section below. We definitely, would like as much feedback as possible. We'll be back tonight with our top wide receiver plays for the week. We'll have that video up. And, I mean, that's all I got for you guys. So you good, Jeremy?
One thing that I'll add to this is that if you are a premium or VIP member on our site, there is a premium member chat. And we didn't really utilize that on our site for MLB. It's kind of a daily thing, and it's a little bit different. But hop in the chat and post questions. We're constantly looking through the chat to see if there's stuff there. We gave you a player pool. If you got, if you're paying for a pre-membership, that's what we're here for, to help answer your questions on this. And on, this guy versus that guy, if I'm only playing one lineup, if you've got questions on tournament strategy. One thing that I'll tell you really quick, for this week, if you're watching this video and you want to try max entering a tournament, $37.50, right, is 150 entries in the quarter tournament. It's a great way to get your feet wet max entering. All you got to do, if you're a luxury box member especially, grab Roto's cash game lineup, throw $40 on that, throw $40 in the 150 lineup for tournaments, use this player pool, and see how you do for the week. But utilize the chat, ask questions, comment on this video, etc., and we'll get back to you guys.
Yeah, for sure. And, hey, I mean, that's where I'm at. I think Jeremy's pretty much got everything down for this video. And, hey, we're going to get it this week. And, yeah, hey, that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.